A budget is both a concrete plan for the future and an enforcement mechanism to help us stay within the limits we set and to ensure honest accounting. One of these enforcement mechanisms in the Budget Act, as set forth in the Code, is a prohibition against the consideration of any appropriation bills in the absence of a budget. We shouldn't move forward with spending bills until we've established a budget. How simple is that?
Anybody who votes to go to a spending bill without forcing the United States Senate to come to terms with a budget is in essence an accomplice to allowing the shenanigans that are taking place right now to continue.
We haven't had a budget here in now 806 days. It's been 806 days since the Democrat majority here in the Senate has allowed us to have a vote on a budget. Now, many of us believe that in order to determine how you're going to spend $3.7 trillion of America's hard-earned money, you ought to have some priorities.
Someone in this building, if someone in Washington has a tax increase that creates jobs, I invite you to offer it. We're all ears. Right now, if someone in Washington has a tax increase that helps create jobs, then now's the time to offer it. I would submit to you, you're not going to find one.
The President of the United States is unwilling to compromise, is unwilling to meet the conditions that many Republicans in this body have acknowledged are their conditions, precedent for raising the debt limit.
We're spending $100,000 a second. By the time I finish this sentence, we'll have spent $500,000. Of that $100,000 a second, we're borrowing $40,000 a second.
We've spent $7.3 trillion since the last budget was passed and increased the national debt by $3.2 trillion. Now the Senate is considering a bill, a spending bill, an appropriation bill, before we've even passed a budget. It strikes me, Mr. President, that that is exactly backwards. We should be passing and debating a budget first before we then take up appropriation bills.
To make matters worse, they have a statutory obligation to do this, so it's actually also illegal. And here we are without a budget. We're about to run out of this year's funding. When we come back from the August break, we're going to be passing some huge omnibus. Who knows what's in that? We have a completely broken down process.
I mean, we all came here in a very sincere desire to actually solve the problem. And one of the things we talked about is how President Obama now, rather than being serious about this, rather than really tackling the problem, he's beginning to scare seniors and members of our military.
We ought to be following the law, having a budget, and then living within the budget, and it needs to be a responsible budget consistent with what's coming in.
This is only the beginning of our fight. There will be more votes, more objections, more points of order. Working with my colleagues, I will give all that I have to help put this country back on a sound, honest, solid financial path.